Hi, everyone. Caitlin Smith here with MyMD Connect. Today, we are extremely excited to have one of our clients with MyMD Connect, Gary Alsop here, CEO at Corpus Christi Housing Authority. And he's going to be here today to talk about his experience with MyMD Connect, his employees, and how it has really benefited them and their organization. So we're going to just ask him a couple of questions and see what Gary has to say. Sound good, Gary?
Sounds great. Just
Awesome.
say hello, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, well, Gary, can you kind of just give us an understanding of how long you and your employees have been using MyMD Connect?
Well, that's two answers. I personally been using MyMD Connect for probably 5 years or so. The agency itself has offered it for about 1.5 years now.
Okay, wonderful. Well, in your own words, then, can you kind of tell me what value you and your employees have gotten from MyMD Connect?
I think the big value is really quite frankly, there's several of them. One of them is it's probably the best doctoring experience I've ever experienced. It seems like through MD Connect, the doctors are really providing a long-term perspective. They're making sure that I get my blood work every quarter and giving me input on both on the good part of that and the bad things that come out of those reports. So from that point of view, my prior experience with a doctor is you have an appointment whenever you have an appointment, and it's completely up to you. It's not managed by the physician, and I really appreciate that. I also really appreciate essentially the almost 24-hour nature of the services. I had a serious medical condition about 3 years ago, and I was in the emergency room texting back and forth through MyMD Connect about what was going on with my condition. And it was a serious issue that was fortunately came out great, but it was also one that I was able to talk to the physician that's providing care for me and listen to that opinion and that direction in a real-time situation with a big deal was going on.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. I'm glad that they had the ability to take care of you in that situation. I feel like that is a big difference that people have a hard time differentiating and distinguishing between MyMD Connect and a normal doctor. You talking about how you were able to utilize that in a emergency situation is crucial to people understanding the difference between this and traditional telemedicine. I think that's a really big, thing that people have trouble understanding the difference. Is there anything you'd like to add in regards to someone that is saying, well, isn't this the same thing as telemedicine?
Well, I would definitely tell them it is not the same thing as the telemedicine. We've had telemedicine programs in the year. Every time you call, you get a different doctor. They're not really looking at the long-term issues at all. That's not what they're intended to do. They're not looking at for the long-term care. They're just literally, you've got a sniffle, they call in something, or they tell you if you need to go to the emergency room, they say go to the emergency room, but they really don't offer any sort of a long-term care. It's more of a telemed is a convenience function, but it's certainly not anywhere near the same.
Yeah. Well, in your opinion, then, what do you like most about MyMD Connect?
I really like the convenience factor. I like the ability to have to send a text or send a note and say, here's a situation that's going on, and get some sort of a response that's meaningful. It's not just looking at the isolated situation that's being texted at the second. I truly believe it's a long-term, this is my doctor. It's almost like a mini appointment at the drop of a hat. And when my regular doctor comes in at an appointment, I expect him to have at least know who I am and some general background of what my condition is and what my situation is. I would not expect that in a telemed situation. And I really like that. And again, I've said before, I think this is that my experience with MyMD has been perhaps the best doctoring I've been exposed to in all my career in my lifetime.
Wonderful. Well, let's see here. What kind of kept you then from buying direct primary care sooner?
I think we got in not as what I would call early adopters. We were certainly not on the first edge, but I think we were relatively early in the process. I think it became an option for us, and when it became an option that was talked about by our brokers, we jumped in.
Great. Well, I have a question then for you. What advice would you maybe give to another business owner that's on the fence of whether or not they're going to purchase MyMD Connect?
Actually, that's a really good question. I think that for us, we were able to receive a discount on our regular health insurance by offering this. So it became almost a free option to add this benefit for us because we reduced our costs in one place and added a cost in another, and it became essentially a break even. What we the I think I mentioned that we've been with MyMD for employees for about a year and a half. After our first year, we recognized that those people who used MyMD thought it was great. We just didn't have enough people using it, in our
Mhm.
opinion. So we actually established a system where for any employee who utilizes MyMD anytime during a quarter, we provide them a $50 gift card. And it's really an encouragement, whether it's just saying, how's my blood work? Whatever that topic is, we really don't care, but we're really trying to enforce the habit of using MyMD. And I think the first quarter we did that, I think we had about 25%. The next quarter, I think it was about 35%. So it's for a relatively minor $50 a quarter gift card, we're able to help change behavior. And we've tried to change behavior through our medical plan for years, but we're a self-funded plan, and we've tried to change this benefit or that benefit or move them around, trying to encourage people not to go to emergency rooms, for example, and giving people an option that says, look, you can call or text these MyMD Connect, and they're going to get right back to you. You don't have to go sit in an emergency room for 3 hours waiting for somebody to come out and give you a headache medicine or some silliness, or I shouldn't say silliness, but some non-emergency measure that they're tying up emergency sources, and we're paying for emergency services at emergency services rate instead of paying for those services at a primary doctor level. And that's so being able to try to manage our costs is a huge element of suggesting MyMD.
Wonderful. And you guys are on our virtual program too. I think a lot of people are hesitant to implement a virtual program. What would you say to someone that was saying, well, I don't think people will use it because it's virtual? Just what's your feedback on that?
Well, I think over the last 2 years, I think people have got a lot more comfortable with virtual everything. Um, I'm really not a fond person with Zoom meetings, but I certainly recognize that there's not a whole lot of things that can be done at a in-person doctor's office visit that can't be done in a virtual visit. I understand they can't reach out and take your blood pressure or those sorts of things, but short of that, they can do an awful lot of stuff, cover a lot of ground.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think there's a huge misconception where people are hesitant to do that or think that their employees won't utilize it. And then once they have that first experience, they realize how, one, different this is, and two, how much you can accomplish virtually as well. Well, Gary, if you were to recommend MyMD Connect to one of your personal friends, what
Which I have.
yeah. Oh, great. Wonderful. Well, what would that conversation look like? I mean, what would you be telling just your best friend about why they should utilize this?
Well, actually, a real life scenario, my parents moved to Corpus Christi. and they're in their 80s. And the first thing I did is I said, you've got to get signed up with MyMD. One of my parents has some significant health issues, and MyMD is serving as primary care for her, and juggling, I believe, two other physicians that are essentially coordinating with MyMD. So, in terms of what did the conversation go, in this particular case, it was pretty easy. It was like, sign up. So I didn't have much convincing to do. They moved to town. They didn't have local physicians, and I will tell you, they were hesitant, as you might expect, but they have also been truly amazed that they are sending data, blood pressure data, on a weekly basis and saying, we're taking blood pressure 10 times a day, and here's the numbers, and here's the results, and here's where medication was taken. And so they are recognizing that would not be a possibility in a traditional medical setting, medical practice.
Great. I think that's a big testament to how much you believe in this if you're having your parents do it. I know I'm the exact same way with my parents as well. Once I utilized it, I said, nope, you guys, I care too much about you and your health. You guys really need this. So what has been then employee feedback that you've gotten? I mean, do you think that this has been really imperative in helping kind of recruit and retain employees? And I mean, just what are their thoughts on it?
I'm not sure I can say it's been a huge factor in recruitment or retaining. It is, I think our general benefits that we offer are very, very strong, and this is an emphasis on the strength of our benefit package. I think it just makes it that much stronger. In terms of employee comments, again, I think that the vast majority of employees who have tried it like it. I think there's been some what I would call minor issues with some staffing and perhaps growing pains that MD has endured, that when we brought them to attention, I think those were addressed very, very quickly. So I guess the downside of that, and there's always a downside, is that it's not perfect. The good side of it is when we brought those issues to attention, they seem to receive a lot of attention, and that issue seems to have disappeared.
Wonderful. Well, I have just a couple more questions then. One being, what in your mind surprised you the most about MyMD Connect?
Quite frankly, I was expecting more of a telemed response, and I got something way different. That's probably my biggest surprise. And again, I think I mentioned that I'd used telemed for several years before it became a part of our benefit plan. So when I saw it, I used it, and I talked about the situation where I was having a stroke, and I was texting back and forth with the doctor about what my symptoms were and what was going on and what they were saying at the emergency room. And so in that particular case, the doctor was actually on telemed, not quite doing the on-site care, but he was certainly involved with it.
Yep. Well, wonderful. Well, Gary, thank you so much. I think that's all of the questions that I do have for today. Was there anything else that maybe you were hoping to add or kind of close out with today?
Well, I would just close out with recommending anyone consider this. I think it's a great option. Corpus Christi is a big city that's got options for medical care. I have family that's lived in very small towns and currently lives in very small towns that, the nearest emergency room might be a half an hour or 45 minutes away, and the nearest ambulance ride might be a similar distance. So using this as that tool makes a lot of sense in those situations. It makes sense in the big cities as well. But in the more rural it is, the less options, the less resources that are available. This is just a superior resource that people should take advantage of.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Gary. We love the opportunity to serve you and your employees. And we thank you so much for getting on here today and speaking with us about your experience using MyMD Connect. Again, everyone, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My email for you is going to be ksmith@mymdconnect.com. We would love the opportunity to serve you and your employees. Have a great one. Thank you.
Take care.